Hello everyone. You are watching HackerTV, the official podcast channel of ASAC 5.0. And इस बार ASAC लौटा है अपने फिफ्थ एडिशन के साथ, bringing together innovation, execution, and real-world problem solving on one platform. So dates are already announced and registrations भी start हो गए हैं. So stay tuned for more updates. I'm your host Jayati Shri. And today we are bringing you insights straight from the people who shape innovation behind the scenes, our incredible mentors. Mentors are not just judges or guides, they're industry builders, problem solvers, and visionaries. And today we are diving into their journeys, perspectives, and advice for the next generation of hackers. Joining us today is Mr. Chinmay Pant. He is a software engineer with over 3 years of experience building scalable, high performance, and secure front end applications using technologies like React, Next.js, TypeScript, and Node.js. Beyond his engineering work, he is deeply involved in the tech community, having mentored and judged 30 plus hackathons and guided over 500 plus students. He enjoys working at the intersection of front-end engineering, product thinking, and securing conscious development. Hi, Chinmay. Hope you are doing great.
Hi, Jyoti.
Hi, great. So, tell me about your journey. How has been your journey, and how did you manage to be here where you are today?
Hmm. My journey as a software engineer started back in 2020 when just COVID hit and lockdown started. And that was the first time I got access to the internet and I got to learn about the things which I never had a chance to in my school time. Even I was never exposed to computer science as a subject till my 12th. So 2020 was the only time when I got to know about it. And I got pretty much fascinated by all the online courses that I could find in Udemy and all the other platforms like CS50. And I got to learn about programming languages like Python. I got into security, the offensive side of security, the defensive side of security, building systems and breaking systems. And that was the first point. I got to learn that, okay, this kind of thing exists and I want to learn more about it. And this is what motivated me to pursue my undergraduate in computer science.
Oh, great. That's very nice. And even uh, मेरे साथ भी ये हुआ था ना, like I was in 10th standard when COVID hit it, and I got exposed very much to internet and all, and then I started like, okay, this is something, and it is good, nice.
Hmm.
So, what initially pulled you towards software engineering? Like, ऐसा क्या था जो आपको ऐसे देख के लगा कि oh, now this is something I want to be in, ये तो बहुत सही चीज है. और कोई जैसे और भी टेक्सटाइल्स है तो not like other textiles, this textile is me, or yeah, this is great thing.
Yes. Okay. So I would say two reasons. Okay. The first thing is me being from a science background. I was always drawn to solving problems. I had a solution oriented mindset. Ki I need to solve something regardless of the domain. Kuch
Hmm.
solve karna hai, and that what makes me happy. So in the intersection of me, of my aim to solve problems and me being passionate about tech is one of the reasons I chose my domain as a software engineer. So I
Okay.
realized that there are some problem statements that are very fascinating. And if I have the domain, if I have the domain knowledge of computer science and I know about software, know about engineering, that is something I can use my abilities to solve that kind of problem. And that is what drove me towards software engineering and towards securing systems. And this is one of the reason I initially chose my domain as a front-end engineer because that has an low entry point
Hmm.
to get into the engineering domain and I can make an impact. So yeah, that was it.
Great. आई होप जो भी ये पॉडकास्ट सुन रहे हैं जिनको भी ऐसे थोड़ा बहुत फ्रंट एंड इंजीनियरिंग में इंटरेस्ट है, जिनको मन है, दे विल श्योरली गेट इंस्पायर्ड जो आप बताए, और कैसे वो भी परस्यू कर सके आगे इस चीज को.
Yeah, तो कि main चीज क्या है कि unlike other domains, if you have a passion for crafting systems. I'm not just saying about ki UI ke liye passion hai. That is the second part. The first thing, if you're passionate about solving things, अगर कुछ you're passionate about development, so front end has a low entry barrier. You can start with it without any prior knowledge of very heavy technologies. You can just get started with any kind of tutorial, and within 2 weeks, you would be able to at least build something. You can show something. Okay, then at least I have created this and I can see this. That is the main thing. Suppose you are doing something just you do not have any visual interaction, तो समझ नहीं आता कि हम कर क्या रहे हैं. But anywhere you have a visual interaction, so it is very easy to see the outcome. So yeah, that is it.
एंड जब ऐसे आउटकम्स आ जाते तो इवन सम लाइक वी गेट अ मोटिवेशन कि हम कुछ तो कर रहे हैं एंड हो सकता है हम आगे कुछ और बेटर भी कर पाए.
So for me, this was one of the main reasons कि I was like kind of drawn to it कि यार जो मैं कर रहा हूँ I can see the outcome. So that was very interesting for me.
Nice. So in your first year as a software engineer, what misconception about front-end development you have? Like ऐसा क्या चीज रहा था जो आपको एक्सपीरियंस आप बाद में किए कि ओ दिस वाज माय मिसकंसेप्शन एंड ये तो ऐसा नहीं होता है, बट you used to thought that it was like that, but it was never like that in front-end engineer or in software engineer as a software engineer.
Okay. So the first thing was in my first year I was never limited to front end. Even first year में मैंने front end को just touch भी नहीं किया था, and that is totally fine. Because in the first year, I took all of my time to focus on the academics, to focus on how can I network, and to focus on all the aspects I can explore. So, पहले के 1.5 साल, including the COVID time and jab I came to the offline college in Delhi. So I spent most of my time exploring everything I can, from front end, back end, Web3, security, networking, communication, and even organizing. So at that time only, I was in the organizing team of HackCBS, which is India's largest student hackathon. So it is kind of a variety. But if I specifically say about front end, जो एक misconception था in my initial time working on it was that it is mostly about UI. कि हमने एक UI बना दी, it has low entry barrier, and that is it. But it is a very, very big misconception. And why I can say this? Because currently I have worked with more than 15 to 20 different organizations in various kind of roles, front end, as a consultant, as a security consultant, as an architect. And abhi bhi I believe that there are more scarcity for good front-end engineers than back-end engineers, because everyone is not that much interested in creating pixel perfect outcomes, which is very important as a front-end engineer.
Nice. मैंने भी कहा जैसे I'm not a person who is more interested in front end, but I have seen my friends who are interested in front end engineering. This is a very big misconception, and even मेरे काफी ज्यादा जैसे बैचमेट्स वगैरह है उन्हें भी एक मिसकंसेप्शन है कि UI is the main thing in front end, but yeah, okay.
So not really, because even in 2025, UI is not even the main thing. It is very easy. You can have an AI-powered IDE, and उसके base पे you can generate the whole UI part. But the logical part, the architectural part, even अभी भी AI and all are not good at it. If you are skilled at this field, at least coming 1 या 2 साल के अंदर, it is very valuable. After 2 years, I cannot say the pace AI is going. I cannot predict it. But अभी के हिसाब से, it is a very valuable skill. And I still feel कि even when AI will get more powerful, जो एक human architectural mindset है, it is not going to end anytime soon. So it is still a very powerful field to be in if you have that eye for design and the urge to create pixel perfection.
Nice. So, Chinmay, was there a particular project, like in an early career, was a particular project that shaped how you think about scalability or performance today? Like, अभी के टाइम पे जो भी स्केलेबिलिटी या परफॉर्मेंस रही है आपकी, ऐसा कोई अर्ली प्रोजेक्ट रहा था जो आपके करियर पे बहुत शेप दिया हो?
Yeah, so एक से दो project थे. One was while I was in my college itself. So I used to volunteer with a lot of organization, and I was volunteering with an organization जो Linux बनाती है for digital forensics and incident response. It's called CSI. So while working with them, I also contributed to some of their tools. And at that time, I realized that most of the products we are building it with a mindset कि it is for the ease of other users, even if you will load it with a lot of features, people don't even know
Hmm.
उन्हें कैसे use करना है. That is waste of effort. So my main thing was it should be ease of access. कि जो use कर रहा है, that person should exactly know कि what are we getting out of it and how we can get the full potential of whatever tool we are using. So that was one very significant learning. And this learning I implemented it while I was working with my first organization. That was a product-based organization, a product-based startup. So
Hmm.
I was working there from scratch on some real-time dashboard जो हमारे पास live analytics data और internal data plus the consumer data को handle करता है. And I realized
Hmm.
that इस टाइम पे the performance and scalability is the main thing जिसके basis पे we are creating the architecture. Because developing a system with just raw अपने पास ideas की ये तीन चीजें चाहिए, it is not that hard. But at the time thinking कि बाद में अगर हमको ये तीन चीजें और चाहिए, what how we are going to handle it, so that अभी
Yeah.
अगर हमें उस काम के बदले 3 के बदले 5 दिन लग रहे हैं, so बाद में जाकर के we are saving that time. बाद में जाके we are saving a week of work. So that kind of scalability is the main mindset, which I think even everyone should be developing in their early career during their college time,
Hmm.
through their internship or project, just so they can actually use it. That is very helpful.
Nice. So ऐसे कोई भी प्रोडक्ट जो अभी थोड़ा ज्यादा या फिर कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट जो अभी थोड़ा ज्यादा टाइम ले रही है बट इवेंचुअली वो आगे जाके हेल्प करेगी. वी विल डू प्रोडक्ट्स, वी विल डू मेक प्रोजेक्ट्स और लाइक समथिंग दैट विल बी इजी, राइट?
Yeah, it took even just a very good example is in my second organization, we used to manage the analytics in individual product. We had lot of products. और सब में हम analytics जो analytics data होता है कि how is our analytics performing, and we collect all that data. We used to manage it in all the product individually, which is fine because centralizing these kind of things take a lot of efforts. But once we took the initiative and we did it, and now the effort just decreased by 80%. जो काम अब हमको इंडिविजुअल 6 जगह करने में हमको 10 घंटे लग रहे हैं, वो काम हम 2 घंटे में कर रहे हैं. एंड वो भी इन अ वेरी थ्रू कंसिस्टेंट पाइपलाइंस. एंड दैट काइंड ऑफ प्रोडक्ट वेयर आई वाज वर्किंग वाज मैनेजिंग मोर देन 100 million events per month with consistent pipeline, which is a very significant achievement, and that is a very good example of scalability.
Nice. Okay, so even I'm going to apply this on my projects now.
Hmm.
Nice. So, you have attended many hackathons as a mentor, as a judge also. So, after mentoring and judging like 30 plus hackathons, that's a big number. So, what's the biggest pattern आप देखे हो टीम्स में जो कंसिस्टेंटली अच्छा परफॉर्म करती है या फिर जो एटलीस्ट फाइनलिस्ट में रहती है, जो अच्छी टीम से रहती है, तो उसमें आप क्या ऐसे पैटर्न, बिगेस्ट अच्छा पैटर्न आप देखे हो?
ठीक है, तो अच्छे पैटर्न से पहले लेट मी टेल यू वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट assumption that people make which is not true. So
यस, श्योर.
lot of teams and participants assume that जो team जीती है, they might be having the best tech stack, they would be having a very beautiful UI, they would be having the smartest participants, उनकी team बहुत strong होगी, which is not definitely true. The main thing, मतलब the priority one is selling. बेचना आना चाहिए. And why I'm saying this, let me emphasize on this. So in a hackathon, how you win because judges choose you कि this is the best project we have seen in this hackathon. And how will this happen? When you will convince the judges that this is the best project. Suppose you have created something very awesome, कुछ ऐसी चीज जो अब तक मार्केट में एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करती है, but you don't know how to pitch it. You suppose you have developed a very interesting machine learning model, but all you have done in that part of hackathon is बस theory बनाई है and एक terminal based output बनाया है और judges को बताया है. Just for example, माना that judges don't know about machine learning, माना वो एक Web3 का judge है या फिर he is a product based judge. उसको नहीं पता अपने क्या किया है, what is the outcome of it. जो दिखता है वही बिकता है. If he cannot see it, he cannot say if it is good. The main thing
ओके.
is how you can sell this. That is the most important thing, which I see that teams that are winning, they always do it. उनके presentation से नहीं, क्योंकि PPT बहुत अच्छी PPT वो mostly होती भी नहीं है, just 2 से 3 pages. Their outcome कि हम जा रहे हैं, they will take us 60 seconds से max 90 seconds, and they will tell us कि this is what we have built, this is the problem we have solved, and these are the outcomes, and this is how we are going to scale it. ये 3 से 4 चीजें सुन के समझ में आती है कि they have built something impactful, which is a very big क्या कहते हैं plus point.
So basically, pitching is very important in hackathons. आप
Yeah, I
जितना
mean,
अच्छे से और जितना
hmm,
क्लियरली आप एक्सप्लेन करके जजेस को बता पाओ कि उनको ऐसा कुछ क्लैरिटी आप जितना अपना बता पाओ, दैट रियली हेल्प्स, राइट?
मतलब वही कि अगर यू हैव अ डिसेंट प्रोजेक्ट, अब ऐसा भी नहीं है कि बस बेचना आता है लेकिन कुछ बनाया ही नहीं है।
हाँ।
इफ यू हैव समथिंग डिसेंट बट यू नो हाउ टू सेल इट। अब जस्ट टेक एन एग्जांपल कि वी हैव लॉट ऑफ स्टार्टअप्स, लॉट ऑफ फंडेड कंपनीज एंड हाउ some of the companies don't even have good products, but they still convince the investors कि भाई we are making something revolutionary, and how they're doing it because they know how to sell. So that's the main game. It is more about business than just tech. Hackathons not just about tech, it is about selling.
ओके, गॉट द पॉइंट। एंड आई होप अभी जो भी पॉडकास्ट देख रहे हैं या फ्यूचर में ये जो भी पॉडकास्ट देखेंगे, दे अंडरस्टैंड द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ पिचिंग। लाइक एवरीथिंग इज नॉट अबाउट कोडिंग एंड योर प्रोजेक्ट। You have to be on, you have to be better on your soft skills also.
Hmm.
So, Chinmay, what's the one mistake students usually make in hackathons? And ऐसा कोई मिस्टेक जो स्टूडेंट्स अब बहुत देखो रेगुलरली मिस्टेक्स वो हो रही है स्टूडेंट्स से, एंड इट रियली कॉज देम जजेस, या फिर बहुत सारे ऐसे स्टूडेंट्स भी होते हैं कि उनको फीडबैक भी मिलती है बट वो फीडबैक अप्लाई नहीं करते हैं। सो व्हाट्स
Hmm.
दैट वन मिस्टेक स्टूडेंट्स यूजुअली डू इन हैकाथॉन्स?
Okay, let me start with the most important things once.
हम्म।
Lot of participants try to make a full-fledged system, and they just try to not follow the demo path. They try to make a full system, a fully functional system. So they're trying to just create a whole fully functional product in 24 hours, which is not feasible. So the main thing which I have seen the biggest mistake is students, participants do not focus on MVPs. Try to understand that hackathon ka purpose hai you need a running idea, you know how to pitch it, you know how to sell it, and you know how you will take it ahead in the future. ये तीन से चार चीजों को combine करके you create an impactful product. So creating an MVP is just a representation कि you know what you can create. Hackathon is all about speed. It is not about the perfection. It is not about scaling systems. So the biggest thing I've seen is people not creating good MVPs. That is one thing. इसके अलावा कुछ और चीजें भी हैं. For example, if the hackathon जहाँ पे problem statement at the point मिलते हैं, तो people don't know beforehand, तो they spend a lot of time just updating the problem statement कि हम ये भी ऐड करते हैं, ये करना चाहिए, ये नहीं करना चाहिए. So one of the things I believe that problem statement should be logged early. कि this is the thing we are going to do, why we are going to do this. The why should be very clear. The why is the main thing कि we can sell it कि हम ऐसा क्यों कर रहे हैं, what is it trying to solve. And if within the first hour of the problem statement अगर ये हमारे पास point clear है कि हम ये क्यों बना रहे हैं, this is the only way we can sell it confidently. This is why we are solving it. This is the problem we are trying to solve. Because hackathon is all about solving problem and creating an implementation out of it. There's a few more things like some teams spend a lot of time on argument rather than making decisions. There is no clear ownership. These are some of the things I feel कि जो this causes teams to lose even after having very robust ideas.
ओके, नाइस। सो जो भी टीम्स पार्टिसिपेट कर रही है, आई होप आप ध्यान से सुन लो क्या क्या चीजें जरूरी है, राइट? सो चिन्मय, you have mentored 500 plus students, and so my next question to you is ki how this 500 plus students which you have mentored influenced the way you write code and communicate in professional teams? Like, have you got influence with, have you met any team or any student जो आपको इन्फ्लुएंस करके गए हैं?
I mean, definitely. Considering कि अभी तक I have done around 35 to 40 hackathons, and I have seen around over 200 projects at least. So the main thing I've learned, well, one of the biggest learning, that most of the issues or bugs aren't caused by lack of intelligence, but they are caused by unclear thinking and unclear communication. Even, for example, if you're creating an MVP in a hackathon, that is the same thing. A mini version of we are creating a very big project with प्लानिंग. यहाँ प्लानिंग 1 घंटे की है, वहाँ प्लानिंग 1 महीने की, 1 हफ्ते
एक
की होती है.
महीने की।
सो एज लॉन्ग एज, बिकॉज दिस इज अ प्रोटोटाइप जो हम एक बड़े स्केल पे कर रहे हैं, हैकाथॉन इज जस्ट 24 आवर्स ऑफ दिस, जो लोग 24 महीने में करते हैं. सो द कंसेप्ट इज सेम. द अनक्लियर थिंकिंग और जो अनक्लियर कम्युनिकेशन होती है, द लैक ऑफ प्लानिंग, दिस इज वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट थिंग दैट किल्स. एंड मी पर्सनली, इफ आई एम वर्किंग समवेयर, माय फर्स्ट जो टास्क रहता है, इट इज टू हैव वेरी क्लियर सेट ऑफ रिक्वायरमेंट्स, वेल डॉक्यूमेंटेड, नॉट जस्ट कि डिस्कस कर लिया, एवरीथिंग इज रिटन कि वी आर वेरी श्योर हमने क्या बात करी थी, वी फॉरगेट, एटलीस्ट आई हैव अ बैड मेमोरी, आई विल राइट एवरीथिंग व्हिच इज needed to be discussed. I will
Important.
discuss with the concerned person. I will discuss with my product manager, whoever I'm working with. So that is one thing. And another thing can be if I am writing the code, if I particularly say about the technical part, अगर मैं code लिख रहा हूँ, I focus it to be more user friendly. And wherever possible, I try to prefer quality over speed. And if I am making something and I know कि वहाँ पे speed required है, so it is a trade-off because now I will have to sacrifice quality because of speed. So I will note down the trade-off कि अभी we are doing
Hmm.
this, अभी we have missed this, but in X amount of time when we are done with this, we will come back to this. So this is something I feel really helps. And this is one of the learnings I have got while interacting with a lot of participant students, even attending a lot of community meetups, speaking with other developers who are working on
Hmm.
various projects, who have created startups and companies. This is one of the biggest learning.
Nice. Even me as a person, मेरे साथ भी है. If I think this is important, if I contact someone, if I think okay, not just important, but I like okay, this can be related in future also. Of course, I'm a very short memory person, so I write down things like okay, these things are
Hmm.
important, just written down, and I'm the more person ना लिख के ऐसे चिपका देते हैं दीवार के सामने कि okay,
Yeah.
this things have to be
Mhm.
remembered. I can't.
Yeah.
Happens to me also because the things because there are so many things like as I am in college, so I'm still talking about my experience. So there are so many things like we have to do things of ace like this ace hacks and college assignments and all also there. That we have to search for internships and all of there are many things and at times happen like I forget things and I just thought okay.
Yeah, this is why having a very clear set of requirements कि कुछ भी करना है, even जैसे अगर मैं प्रोजेक्ट्स की बात भी छोड़ दूं, माने you are creating an
Hmm.
assignment, a thesis project for your bachelor's degree or for your
Hmm.
just college, and the first thing कॉलेज में आके पहले दिन क्लास में टीचर ने बोली थी कि ये तीन चीजें करनी है, एंड टुवर्ड द एंड ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट हमने एक बहुत मस्त प्रोजेक्ट बनाया एंड वी डोंट इवन रिमेंबर अच्छा ये तीन चीजें भी करनी थी. So that's the biggest problem because we have created a solution for a problem that doesn't even exist, and that can only be solved when we know exactly why we are doing this and noting down things
Yes.
so that we don't forget it.
यस और ना लिखने से ना एक ऐसे क्लैरिटी भी हो जाती है कि ओके दिस इज द दिमाग में अच्छी क्लैरिटी आ जाती है ओके दिस थिंग्स वी हैव टू डू दिस थिंग्स वी डोंट हैव टू डू एंड व्हिच थिंग्स आर नेसेसरी और मैंडेटरी व्हिच थिंग्स आर नॉट
Hmm. Hmm.
राइट सो nowadays we have seen like front end security is often underestimated like काफी ज्यादा होता है टीचर्स भी बोलते हैं कि बैक एंड पे थोड़ा कर लो so front end security is often we have seen that is underestimated so what are the most common security gaps आपने देखे ऐसे फ्रंट एंड एप्लीकेशंस पे
Hmm. So yes, actually, especially working with fast-paced startup environments, I've seen a
hmm
widening gap between the security, the speed at which we're developing, and the architectural security to make resilient infrastructures. And some of the things I've seen is front-end security is very much neglected. And एक reason उसके पीछे ये है कि it is a belief कि security is a back-end thing, which somewhat
hmm
makes sense कि if you अगर सिक्योर करना है तो सिक्योर हमें अपने बैक एंड को करना है, हमें डेटाबेस को करना है, बिजनेस लॉजिक को करना है, तो फ्रंट एंड सिक्योरिटी का उतना पॉइंट नहीं बनता है, विच आर्ग्यूमेंट इज problematic. Where it gets problematic is front end say the if we have a website, for example you have an e-commerce website, ठीक है, तो हो सकता है कि your back end is very robust, but front end is actually a attack surface. And what do I mean by an attack surface is, for example, I am an attacker because I have been in the offensive and defensive side of security as well. So I know कि if I'm an attacker, मुझे एक e-commerce website को attack करना है. The first thing I would start it with would be their front end. I will check for some traces कि अच्छा front end में लोग क्या use कर रहे हैं, front end में APIs कैसे आ रही हैं, ठीक है, what are the technologies they are using, ठीक है, what are कहीं पे ऐसा कोई फॉर्म है जहाँ पे ये लोग डेटा को बिना सैनिटाइज करके भेज रहे हैं, तो these all are the attack surfaces जहाँ से we can have exposure. तो अगर in your home you are safe inside your almirah is very secure but your door are weak, So even if the attacker will enter your house, भले safe बच जाए, but still there will be a lot of damage. So this is just how front end is distinguished. This is why front end is important. And a few pointers would be just like never blindly trusting the client side logic. Whatever we are writing on the client side, we just blindly
Hmm.
trust it कि अगर कोई हमारा फॉर्म है, उस फॉर्म से कुछ डिटेल इनपुट होनी है. एंड एक इजी एग्जांपल तो एक फॉर्म का तो एक कमेंट सेक्शन भी हो सकता है वेर यू आर एंटरिंग सम डेटा एंड सेविंग इट. हो सकता है कि वो कमेंट अ सिंगल कमेंट वी आर राइटिंग ऑन अ वीडियो, हाउ दिस
Hmm.
कमेंट इज बीइंग सेव्ड इन द बैक एंड, दिस इज वी आर अ बिट वीक ऑन इट. एंड हमने कभी सोचा भी नहीं इस बारे में. व्हाई? बिकॉज वी अंडरस्टिमेट द फ्रंट एंड सिक्योरिटी कि इट डजंट मैटर. एंड दिस इज वेयर इट एक्चुअली मैटर्स बिकॉज लॉट ऑफ अटैक्स हैपन. A long time ago, or not even long time ago, 5 years ago, our attack on Reddit happened with the same logic on their front end. And this is what cost a lot of money and a lot of data leakage. And another thing I can think of is overexposing the data models, overexposing the APIs on front end. ऐसा डेटा हम दिखा रहे हैं जो रिक्वायर्ड भी नहीं है. 2 दिन पहले ही आई वॉज सीइंग अ पोस्ट ऑन लिंक्डइन दैट naukri.com पे if you will see कहीं पे undisclosed salary लिखी है and you will go to the
Hmm.
network tab on your browser and you will scroll through the network tab, you will find some API responses जहाँ पे salary bracket भी लिखा है, although UI में show नहीं हो रहा है, but we are sharing it, which is a problem, right? So these
Hmm.
are kind of some micro findings जो front end पे which highly impact. We neglect it because we think it might not hurt something. It might not break the system, but it might reveal a lot of things for the attacker to leverage. From the being on the offensive side of security as well, I have seen this happening, and this is what becomes a big pain when we just neglect it in a very big scale. So all your traces milke, they create a very big problem, and even in basis, a lot of systems get attacked.
Hmm. Got it. So front-end security is equally important as okay, it will not harm that much, but still there will be a lot of like नुकसान काफी ज्यादा हो जाएगा फिर भी.
Yeah, matlab, the main thing is there is a saying कि if anything can break, it will break. So if there is a
Hmm.
possibility कि it can break, तो there's a very good chance कि होगा ही होगा.
Got it. तो आप अभी बता रहे थे कि आप साइबर सिक्योरिटी मतलब एक ऑफेंसिव एंड डिफेंसिव साइड पे भी रहो सिक्योरिटी के. सो हैव यू पर्सनली मेट विद एनी डिफेंसिव cyber security threat or like something on a defensive side of have you personally seen any cases or like personally आपके साथ कुछ ऐसा पर्सनली कोई केस हुआ है डिफेंसिव साइड ऑफ साइबर सिक्योरिटी का?
So wherever I have worked, I've always tried to put on the work on the security side as well because that's part of my passion. So even recently, I worked with an organization where I worked on building SDKs, and there were a
Hmm.
lot of traffic that were coming. And suddenly we realized that for some of our partners, for certain kind of logic which is related to their organization, to their business, we were seeing some kind of anomalies. And because of this, जो Google AdSense है, that was kind of blacklisting them for some reason. And when I investigated it, I realized some kind of botnet traffic attack, which the clients were doing to get more traffic. They were creating some bot attacks. They were creating kind of a bot army just to get more views, something like this. And
Hmm.
this is one of the time when I got a chance to work on the defensive and investigative side. I went through the whole logs. I tried to set some logic, some filters, some relations कि क्या हो रहा हो सकता है. And through all of this, I detected some patterns. Okay, so this is the scenario, and these are the attackers, and this is how the
Hmm.
attack is being performed. It is more of an intuition. ऐसा हो रहा है, तो ऐसा हुआ होगा. And based on this, this is the things which are happening now.
Hmm.
Because I know, because I have seen that, I have investigated it, and because me, who is working at an intersection of the defensive side and being the engineer as well, so I
Hmm.
implemented the patches and security protocols for that particular kind of scenarios कि अगर these kind of things are happening, अगर कोई इस लोकेशन से इस टाइम पे ऐसे लॉगिन अटैक्स आ रहे हैं, लॉगिन रिक्वेस्ट आ रही हैं और ऐसा और some kind of conditions, so we have to deal it like this. So this is another example where I feel even if you are working cross domain, so even if you are an engineer, so this it is
Hmm.
very helpful to have an idea of other parts as well. जो बैकएंड कर रहा है अगर उसको थोड़ा आइडिया फ्रंट एंड का हो, जो फ्रंट एंड कर रहा है उसको थोड़ा आइडिया इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बैकएंड का हो,
Backend.
तो it helps a lot.
ओके लाइक, जरूरी नहीं है कि हम एक ही टेक्सटाइल पे एकदम फोकस्ड है. अच्छी बात है एक टेक्सटाइल पर फोकस है ना, बट थोड़ा बहुत अदर टेक्सटाइल्स की भी आइडिया होनी चाहिए। लाइक आप नहीं पता से बोलते हैं ना, देयर इज अ सेइंग आल्सो कि आप इंजीनियर हो तो आप घर पे कंसीडर नहीं किया जाता कि आप कंप्यूटर साइंस के इंजीनियर हो कि किसके इंजीनियर हो।
हाँ, तो
आप इंजीनियर
इट्स
हो तो
कॉल्ड
सब काम
टी शेप्ड
कराते हैं आप।
इट्स कॉल्ड टी शेप्ड लर्निंग, दैट्स
यस, नाइस। सो चिन्मय, हाउ डू यू बैलेंस
इट।
परफॉर्मेंस ऑप्टिमाइजेशन विद सिक्योरिटी, like and accessibility also, without over engineering the product?
Hmm. So normally these kind of constraints come when we are working at scale. Normally, if you are working on MVPs, तो ये उतनी problems आती नहीं है because at the time we just have to get the work done. But as soon
Hmm.
as we start scaling, we have more requirements. Now we have to deal with compliances and everything, and at that time we start thinking about the cross functionality. So for me, as I have worked in this domain, the first thing I do is I set up some kind of non-negotiables. And what do I mean by it? So for example, I'm making a product, example.com. So working on it, I will set some kind of non-negotiable. So for example, 3 point माना लेके चलता हूँ example points. For example,
Hmm.
on the security side, मेरी बस एक priority ही है which is non-negotiable कि app must not leak any data. माना I'm dealing some kind of sensitive data. तो मेरी एक प्रायोरिटी क्या होगी? आई हैव टू मेक इट आई कैन नॉट अलाउ द लीकिंग ऑफ डेटा इन एनी वे. For
Uh-huh.
example, on the accessibility side, I just have ki the app should be usable with keyboards and screen readers.
Hmm.
On the performance and support side, I can have requirement like कि जो मेरे पास load और response time है वो older legacy devices पे भी सही से काम करे. And I
सही
have
से।
cross browser support. With this list of non-negotiable, which is called must have, जो होने ही होने चाहिए, I would start first developing the core features, right?
Hmm.
Which would just first try to solve the main issues that we are having, aside the technical part. And once we have solved the most critical issues, and then I will create a priority list for the nice to have features. For example, now I want कि मेरी UI भी अच्छी दिखे, थोड़ा सा उसमें functionality हो. माना security part में मैं एक दो चीजें और डाल सकता हूँ for better robustness. Now
Hmm.
these all things are just like कि अगर नहीं हुआ तो मेरा ऐप सही से नहीं चलेगा. It's not like that. It is just like कि इनके होने से थोड़ा सा improvement हो जाए.
इम्प्रूवमेंट
So
आ जाए।
in short अगर मैं बताऊं तो having a priority list for must haves and need to haves and creating a priority order for it is a
Hmm.
very good way to prevent over engineering when we are working on something from a business requirement. पहला पॉइंट यही होता है कि पहले let's get the work done. If they can see
Hmm.
the outcome, they can see the output. So that's the most important part. Because for the user, for the consumers, and for the business people, the main चीज ये नहीं होती कि technical कितना strong है. The main चीज ये होती है कि whatever we are showing them, they are impressed by it. तो main जो visual part होता है, they should be satisfied by it. या फिर एक outcome based part होता है. So this is what I feel कि उसकी priority list we should make accordingly so that पहले जो important चीजें हैं वो हो जाए. So this is one of the ways I follow to avoid over engineering when we are running out of time.
Okay. So, and okay. So making the priority list helps a lot, and not just, I hope, not just in doing over engineering part. In anything, if we make a priority list, okay, we have to do things first and then do things later. That will help one, right?
मतलब because I've seen a lot of engineers who are very good at work and एक habit होती है कि best करके
Hmm.
देना है. We just need to make the best out of it. And this is something that hurts. Even if you're working on a hackathon, you just need your project to be best. but 24 घंटे पर नहीं हो सकता. 24 घंटे खत्म हो जाएंगे,
Hmm.
you would realize कि आधा भी नहीं हुआ है. तो best तो दूर की बात है. So the first thing is priority list बना के we have to कंप्लीट द मस्ट हैव्स. एक बार वो हो जाए देन वी कैन फोकस ऑन नीड टू हैव्स. तो ऐसे में जो इंजीनियरिंग है इट एक्चुअली रिमेन्स मीनिंगफुल कि व्हाट वी आर बिल्डिंग वी आर एक्चुअली सॉल्विंग द प्रॉब्लम फर्स्ट देन वी आर
Hmm.
डेकोरेटिंग इट.
Great. So let's wrap the things up, Chinmay. My last and final question to you is: if you could pause your journey for a moment and send one honest lesson or advice to every person or every student or anyone who is watching this podcast, what would be?
Can you repeat your question? Actually I just lost you in between.
Okay, sorry. So my last question to you is: if you could, like, what would be your honest advice or honest piece of advice or honest lesson from your journey that you can
Hmm.
give to everyone who is watching this podcast, or every student, or anyone who is watching, what could it be?
Okay. So, me from being an engineering background and being a science student, so what I feel regarding the pace of our learning, as I previously said, the
Hmm.
pace we are learning, it should always be T-shaped. So just if I take the example of front-end engineering, the front-end sits at an intersection of humans, systems, and constraints. But it doesn't mean that throughout our life, if you're working at a front-end engineer, these are the only three things we are going to tackle. If it is happening, iska matlab we are not growing. So first, whatever we are working on, we should be best at it as much as we can. The perfection can never come, that is true. But we should be best as much as we are proud of it. If I can say, yes, whatever I am doing, I'm proud of it. And I can do better, but whatever I'm doing, I'm somewhat satisfied with it. So that is the first thing. And when we feel like we are doing good in our domain, what we are working on, so then we can have a T-shaped learning. Now we can, at this point, we can start juggling around some other things as well. Now we can start learning some other technologies as well. If I talk specifically for engineering, so we can start learning some other technologies. We can learn, like, if there is a front end engineer, he's trying to have a T-shaped learning and he is very good with creating good front end, good UI and good front end logics and everything. Now he can go with a little bit on back end. He can now start learn a little bit about security. He can go to infrastructure, learn about AWS Docker, and that is what makes you a real engineer, right? So if I give a non-front end advice, which applies everywhere, that like back-end engineers ignore the UX, the infrastructure engineers ignore the developer experience, and security engineers ignore the product reality. And the ones who grow, whom I have seen grow through the industry, are the ones who optimize the impact and not just their own identity, who are just ready to
Hmm.
learn, who are ready for the teachable learning, who are also good with mentoring, who are also good with speaking, who are good with learning things, who are good with wearing multiple hats. So that is what I've seen.
Thank you, Chinmay. I think so. This will also help me as T-shaped learning. I'm also going to apply it now, and it's it's nice that we have some knowledge of everywhere. Great.
Mm.
So thanks a lot, Chinmay, for joining us today. And hearing your journey actually from building products to mentoring others was genuinely very insightful and very much great. And I'm sure every audience, everyone who is watching this podcast will surely get some very good insights and very good experience and perspectives of yours.
Yeah, I enjoyed the podcast a lot. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. So, to everyone watching this, this was Hacker TV, powered by ASAC 5.0. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more mentor insights, tech conversations, and hackathon stories. Until next time, keep learning, keep building, and keep hacking smart. This is your host, Jyoti Shri, signing off.